everyone, and welcome back. It's Gina from orchid and today I'm excited to bring you the second anniversary Sam's Bead box with the theme called Beauty of Time. This, of course, is for March 2023, and it's hard to believe it's already been 2 years since Sam's Bead box came out, but they've been doing such a great job, and it's my pleasure to continue to share these. And I highly recommend them, especially if you are a lover of check glass beads, because you're going to get tons of those in your Sam's Bead boxes, in addition to some gemstone selections and the occasional high-quality metallic component, all put together around a beautiful color scheme that gets changed up on a monthly basis. So if you're interested in signing up and finding out more about Sam's Bead box, definitely check out the link that I have down below in the description section of the video. And I also have a coupon code you can use, which is Orchid, ORCHID, and that will save you $5 off your very first box. I'm also happy to say that Sam's Bead box does ship internationally, so as you go through the checkout process, you can just follow the steps to put in your location and you'll find out what the cost of that is, but it's nice to know that there is that option. And you can also find a lot more at samsbeadshop.com, which is their main online store. But let's go ahead and get into this one. I can't wait to see what's inside. And as usual, we have two inserts included. The first one talking about the inspiration around this monthly theme in the box. Of course, talking about the beginning of their 3rd year of their subscription program. There's also information about how to find out more about their extra sales and online workshops. You can sign up for those notifications by going to joinsamsbeadshop.com. And just looking over what it says about the theme, looks like it's going to be really cool. They're talking about verdigris and copper and how the copper surfaces turn to those shades of that blue-green patina as time goes on, which is beautiful in its own right. Then looking at our second page, we have the listing of everything that is included in our box this month. And it looks like now they have it broken out by the stranded selections, the additional selections, and then at the bottom they have the Verdigris collection, which it says is made in Greece and is lead-free. So let's get a sneak peek. So here's a glance at everything as it comes directly in its original packaging, and it looks like we have a lot of beautiful things once again to check out and another unique and different theme. So let me get organized, then we'll take a look at everything, of course, going down the list one at a time. And we'll start with our first strand, which contains the check glass fire polish faceted rounds in copper crystal. And these are the 8mm size with 20 pieces on the strand. So you can see how approximately half of each of these beads have that copper coating that is bright and shiny. And that leaves the other half that crystal clear, which also has the backlit effect from the metallic coating that's on the other side. Strand number 2 is holding 8 pieces of the 11 by 13mm starburst oval green turquoise copper check glass beads. So as you can see, they have the opaque minty green background there with that starburst press detail, which is highlighted by that copper colored wash. And these have the same appearance on both sides. They also have that flat shape and a hole that runs up and down through the center of the length. Strand number 3 is another gorgeous green combination. These are the 8mm round druck beads or pressed glass rounds in mint silk / teal opal with 20 pieces on our string. And that mix being just slightly different in its concentration from one bead to the next, but overall being sort of a half and half mix of more of that translucent teal and the opaque light mint green. And on strand number 4, we have the 4mm check glass drucks in mint opal / clear, and a total of 80 pieces included. with another beautiful sort of half and half mix of the light mint green and the transparent crystal clear. These having a pretty consistent division of color with that line of demarcation in the center. Next is the petal leaf shape. This is a 10-piece strand containing the crystal and copper variety in about a 9 by 12 millimeter size. Another fun and interesting half and half combination, half of these leaves having the metallic bright copper coating and then the other half left crystal clear, but again, still getting that copper color coming through from the other side. And you can see how they have the hole that runs along the base of the leaf, so these would work in as a drop type shape. And now we have a strand containing the 3.5 millimeter check glass English cut beads in another beautiful crystal and copper combination, this time with the copper areas having more of that etched or textured surface, and that English cut adding another variety to some of these more basic round shapes, similar to a round but being a little bit rougher cut. And there's 50 pieces included. And our next strand is bringing in some of our gemstones. These are the grade A prehnite rounds in an 8 millimeter size. 7 inches is the length of the strand. And these have a pale sage-like green appearance. And they seem to have a little bit of a subtle sheen that seems to come from within, which is pretty cool. And then you have those random areas of the dark, almost black looking streaks that break up that light green color. We also have this mix of dyed lava stones in the 8 millimeter round size. It's 9 inches of the brown and mint green varieties, which are in this basic round shape, of course, but they also have that great texture and break up the check glass varieties with something different, especially with the pitted surface. And then last for our strands, we have the check glass saucer beads, 50 pieces in the Picasso window variety, these being a pretty small 2.5 by 6 millimeter size, and remind me of that tortoiseshell combination of the sort of golden amber color and the darker shade of brown, which are modeled together in these flat round discs. And there's a closer look at these so you can see the face and how they let a fair amount of light through. So we're off to a great start, and I do have to say, I know it's a simple thing, but I like how they've broken out the contents with our strands first. Now we'll start taking a look at some of the bagged items with our loose beads and components that look like they'll provide some great complements to the mix that we have going on here. We'll get started with that next section with a bag containing 5 pieces of the 18 millimeter check glass starburst coin beads in rustic Picasso copper. And I just wanted to hold one of them up so you could see what it looks like without my hand obstructing the light. You can see that it's got that Picasso finish all around the surface, adding that warm golden color to the surface of the beads on both sides, some speckles of brown as well, and the copper wash that's highlighting those starburst details which are pressed into the glass on both sides. Next, we have a bag containing some check glass carved bicones in crystal bronze luster. These are the 8 millimeter size with 10 pieces in the bag. And these have the bicone shape, but a lot more detail with all those ridges that are all around the outside. And they're in this warm neutral metallic that is leaning towards more of the gold end of the spectrum, getting a little bit shinier on those raised areas of the design. And then we have 8 of the 9 by 11 millimeter check glass heart leaf beads in clear crystal copper. So yet another leafy shape, which I think works out well because there's a lot of green in this palette, so we get a bit of that foliage inspiration just from the colors. And these have more of that heart-like shape and some dotted and veining detail brought out by that copper wash that's over top of the crystal clear glass. And those details and wash showing up on both sides. And a bit different from the petal leaves, these actually have the hole that runs through the length of the shape. And now we have 3 pieces of the 15mm check rustic table cut squares in mint silk Picasso. So we have more of this fresh minty green that is framed out by that more rustic finish that's set at the diagonal of these squares. There's a look at the whole location going right down the center. And these are the same on both sides too. And these really bring together the two aspects of the palette, the minty green and also some of that warmer neutral. And then we have 7 pieces of the check table cut spiral squares in rustic mint silk Picasso. And these are about 9mm in size with this little sprinkling of metallic copper that's around the outside. You can see that near the hole area, that adding a little bit of that rustic flavor to the minty green, and also some additional finish in those square spiral areas. That design also showing up on both sides of these beads. And then we get to the 9mm check glass lentils in green/white stone Picasso with about 18 pieces in the bag. That's another stunning stone-like and more rustic combination, mixing the green and the warm neutrals, with all of these being just slightly different due to the fact that the green at the base has its own stripe design showing up, and then of course you have the finish that shows up randomly all over the surface. And with these lentils, they're the one hole variety, which is drilled a bit off center, making these hang down a little bit if you're using those in a stringing project, or something that would stick out further if you're doing some bead weaving, embroidery, or using these in knotting. Bringing in a little bit of a darker shade of green in our next selection, there's about 25 pieces of the check glass bicones in green Picasso luster. So the glass making up these beads is in a deeper shade of green, and then that luster coating is giving us that transparent silvery shine that makes them look even more glossy than they already are. And this is the 8mm size. As you can see, these check glass bicones not having the addition of faceting that you see in the crystal shapes like this, and they have that smoother surface and edges. Next are a couple of focal beads. These are the sailboat medallions in rustic Picasso mint with 2 pieces inside. I wanted to hold these up for you too because they let some of the light pass through, which would be hard to see in my hand. And they definitely have that patina green that washes over the entire surface, concentrating more in the areas that are inset and around the sailboat design. The hole goes right through the center, and we have that pressed sailboat showing up on both sides. And I called these a focal bead because with these larger and more intricate check glass pressed bead types, you can often incorporate those in some type of a pendant component, maybe combining these with a metallic component, or if you enjoy doing any types of wire wrapping, I could see these being really beautiful in something like that. We also have 2, so you could have what you need for a pair of earrings. Next up, I'm loving the fact that we get more of the prehnite beads because those will go really well with that strand of rounds that we already took a look at. In here we have 10 pieces of the faceted irregular tube shape. So they're a 6x9 to 11mm size. So not only do the inclusions that you see, those darker streaks, vary from one bead to the next, but also the size and the shape. They're a bit more rustic, but still smoothed out for the most part, not jagged, and in a bit of a tube shape, really showing off all of the natural beauty that you see going on within the stone formations. For our last bag of beads, we have 20 pieces of the check smooth ovals in green Picasso luster. And these have the exact color and finish combination that we saw in those 8mm check bicones with the deeper shade of green and then that silvery, very glossy shine all around the surface. These are in about a 9 by 11.5mm size, and not only give us another deeper shade of green to add to the palette, but a different shape. Like I usually say, there are lots of basic shapes that come in these Sam's bead boxes, but tons of complementary pressed shapes as well, all being so unique. There's all different types out there, even just talking about the shapes alone, let alone the finishes and other combinations. So that's always a nice surprise. But because we get a variety of things that coordinate, not all the same shape and size, those are the elements that make it possible to create a lot of things just from the contents of 1 month's box. And we're on our last section, which of course was that patina collection that I'm excited to dig into because it looks like we've got some really unique things in here. There's 4 different items listed, 2 of which having 2 pieces. So we'll take all these out and look at them up close. So we start out with our round 2-hole button. It's a 16mm size, and it also has some dimension. It's not just completely flat, it's a little bit wavy, giving the impression that this is a found object, especially with the aged patina, that verdigris color that we see on top of the metallic material all over the surface, with just a hint of the copper showing through from underneath. Next, we have 2 of the chandelier links. These are a 16 by 26mm size with 3 loops at the bottom and 1 loop at the top. Also having that really interesting cutout shape and another really unique finding that feels special and aged, and also something we haven't seen before in the 2 years worth of Sam's bead boxes. So we're still getting lots of new and different things, even though it's starting its 3rd year, keeping things fresh and interesting. Our next piece is called the 2-hole bead, a 15 by 19mm, and we have 1 piece of this. There's the 2 holes going up and down through the center of the spade or finial-like shape with those flourish details and dimension on both sides, and lots of that patina too. And last but not least, we have 2 floral links, 12 by 19mm, again with that cutout shape and sort of spiral or floral-like detail. The patina all around the surface, bringing in more of that green shade that we see coordinating with a lot of our beads this month, and with our other varieties of metallic components. So that wraps it up for another very inspiring Sam's bead box. This is one of those that has only gotten better with time, which seems appropriate to say with the theme of our box this month. And that's really good to see because you don't always see that when it comes to businesses and what they put together. Sometimes things start to lessen in quality over time, but this is not one of those things. So if you like check glass beads, in addition to gemstones, and you do mainly stringing, but some bead weaving too, and not exclusively to those things, but also wire wrapping, all sorts of different bead crafts, I highly recommend Sam's bead boxes for the quality, consistency, and imagination that they put behind everything they send. And not only that, they always have a lot of events going on that often incorporate things from their monthly subscription, in addition to what you can find in their shop. As a reminder, you can find a link for their subscription right down below the video. That's where you can go and find out all the specifics about pricing, shipping, and all those other sorts of details. And if you'd like to sign up, don't forget you can use that coupon code ORCHID, ORCHID, to save $5 off your very first box. Feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments section. Also, give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed checking out these contents up close. Also, be sure to subscribe while you're here if you haven't already, because you'll often see some of these things pop up in future finished jewelry updates and or tutorials, and that way you might get a peek at some of these items in use. And also, feel free to share the video wherever you like. That's all I have for now. I want to thank you all so much for joining me once again today. I will see you all again real soon, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day And as always, happy beading!